what you decide based on the information that you have accrued will always be in alignment, will always be in alignment with an outlined expectation, with an outlined expectation of something can be, of something that can be. You can't imagine what could be claimed, without evidence to show you something other, so it goes unclaimed, The impossible remains as such. And the outlines you use for a potential outcome, must always be called from a history, a litany of possibilities, that could be, to move beyond the known. To move beyond the known is to move past the list, of intended outcome, outlined opportunity with suggested outcomes, If I do this, I will get that. If I do this, I will get that, or something like it. So once you understand that probability becomes the obstacle, you can begin to move beyond it. You can begin to move beyond it. What is probable? Ultimately is an expected outcome, based on history, the information you have used to predicate outcome. To predicate outcome is data, historical agreement. This can happen, that cannot. To decide what cannot happen, ensures a future that is predicated on history, and the history of claimed, and the history you have claimed and can claim and continue to claim has actually claimed you in relevance to outcome, that is not mandated, except by your expectation, When you decide what can be, outside of the list of agreements, or historical probabilities, you enter a new realm. Of impossibility, and all the impossible is, what has not yet been agreed to as a possibility, to transform your life, to exist beyond the known. To exist beyond the known is to unattach, not only to outcome, probable outcome, but to the agreements, of what cannot be, He asks for examples. When you decide something not be. When you decide that something cannot be, you eschew it. You ignore it. You don't open the door. You don't open the door to go down that corridor, to the unknown outcome. You don't even bother. You don't even say yes. You don't even say yes to a potential that has not been confirmed, by the rudiments of understanding, that have their basis in collective agreement. What collective agreement is? Is agreement to what has been, has been. Do you understand this? Do you understand this? The collective itself operates in a system of outcome, I will say hello to you. I will say hello to you. You will say hello back. You will say hello back. You will not say hello back. You will not say hello back. You will welcome me. You will welcome me. You may ignore me. You may ignore me. You may take my money. You may take my money. You may walk away with my money. You may walk away with my money. That may be an outcome you predict. That may be an outcome you predict. What you don't predict. What you don't predict is an outcome that has no bearing, in the data of history. I will say hello to you. I will say hello to you, and you will love me forever, and you will love me forever, not in the way love should be, and not in the way love should be, but in the way love truly is, I will welcome you. I will welcome you to a new reality, by presence of being, by a possible outcome, that you could not outline, because it has not been agreed to, by the collective, by the collective. When the collective agrees to anything, when the collective agrees to anything, the outcome is assured. The outcome is assured, and we will explain this, and we will explain this. Manifestation, or the calling into being, or the calling into being, or articulation of outcome or matter, is predicated on the individual, is predicated on the individual and the collective. And the collective, when we claim and invite you to claim and invite you to claim, you are free, 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 you are free. You're actually idealizing the passage beyond the known, beyond expected outcome, to an alignment, or the incomprehensible, where the incomprehensible may begin to be comprehended, may begin to be comprehended. Underline begin. We cannot thrust you into too bright a room, until you become used to it, by gradation, and to transform the rules of reality, which in fact may be transformed, and we will say will be transformed in time. Supports alignment at the level it can be received. Each of you decides what you can hold, I am allowed love. I am allowed love. I am not allowed love. I am not allowed love. I am allowed prosperity. I am allowed prosperity, but only so much. I am not allowed prosperity. I am not allowed prosperity. I will always be envious. I will always be envious of what others have or can have, of what others have or can have. These are agreements you make. These are agreements you make that have outcome attached, The denial of the divine, which we addressed last night, has an outcome. That is implicit in it. To deny the presence of God, or the vibration you may call God, or the vibration you may call God in anyone or thing, in anyone or anything, denies the divine as you. You can't have it both ways. And the realization of the divine in form is a stepping stone, to manifestation, through the collective, that can have enormous ramifications, on the shared experience, of this vibratory octave, that you inhabit, and may know of as your reality, All a reality is a confirmed set of circumstance and expectation. Do you understand this? Do you understand this? And the world that you see, and the world that you see is the world you are confirming, and the world you are confirming, has properties attached to it, and potential outcomes. You can list a potential outcome. You can list a potential outcome for the day, or for the year, or for the life of this planet, or for the life of this planet. You may choose to do so, and you may choose to do so in relevance to the information you know, or have been taught, or do it in a higher way, beyond the expected, beyond the agreed upon, as each of you decides. So in what you are, who and what you are, what you may claim to you, what you may claim to you will be vastly different, than you decided can be, than you have decided can be, and again can be, probability. When you understand that the true self as you, has come to be realized, at the cost of the old. You begin to comprehend the meaning. Of the claim. Behold, I make all things new. Behold, I make all things new. The new that you see, is merely a re-articulation, of the vibratory field, as can be claimed by one who has lifted, to a new octave, to a new octave, and the level of alignment you hold there, and the level of alignment you hold there actually does not require the anticipated outcome, the anticipated outcome of the old. So your experience and your relevance within it, and your relevance within it is actually transformed in a participatory way. Now reality is always malleable to thought, and while some of you understand this as a probability, you also understand outcome. You also understand outcome as having a basis, an expectation. In expectation, I will say hello, and I will get this response or that, and I will get this response or that. The denial of the divine incurs a specific response. More denial. To claim one outside of God. Actually claims everyone outside of God. And then you are in godlessness. And then you are in godlessness. And the collective agrees to it. And you claim everything. And you claim everything. And the supposition that there is no God, or no potential for God, to claim something without potential, to claim something without potential is to deny the probability, is to deny the probability of change that must be present, in any system. In any system, there is no system. There is no system in stasis. In this universe. Everything is proceeding towards a higher alignment, as it can. And the idealization of what has been, is one of the things that inhibits progression. My marriage should look as it looked 20 years ago, My husband should look at me. My husband should look at me the way he used to. I should look the way I did, or think I must, or should, or be seen as, to confirm an ideal, that is just an idea, of what someone should be, and because you predicate outcome, upon a list of old prior agreement, you obscure the potential for realization that may exist within the marriage, or within the form you've taken, or within the form you have taken. To unattach to outcome is to release the self, from expectation, the gift of this, and the gift of this is the unknown, that can be claimed, Imagine you were at a restaurant. You choose between the beef. And the chicken. You decide which you can have. From the outline. You are offered on a menu. You choose your courses. And you order them in sequence. I will start with the salad. I will have the fillet. And then if I am lucky, there will be some of that pie left. By the end of the meal. That is your idea. Of what you can have. What if there was a menu? What if there was a menu of impossible things, that could be chosen from, What if the potential of a life, had not yet been delineated, by expectation, I will grow old. I will be feeble, and then I will die, These are presumptions you make. Through the inherited structure, that you claim as manifestation, simply through adherence to the collective ideal, of what has been, and nothing will change, until a new realization, a new potential, a new outcome, can be known. Now to claim the invisible. Now, to claim the invisible, the unknown, the unattained feels impossible to you, feels impossible to you. How can we claim something? How can we claim something that we don't know, that we don't know? And while the question is a valid one, the idea of articulation must be understood to comprehend the answer, Articulation is simply manifestation, Everything that you see, everything that you see in the world that you share, is an articulation of one thing, and you may call that thing God, or vibration, or sound, They are all the same thing. They are all the same thing. The idealization of a God is what compromises this, But what if God is all? And in vibration, your alignment and your alignment to the idea of God, would be then inclusive of everything you see, everything that's taken form, everything that has taken form as of God, reclaims the manifest plane, in a higher octave, Every chord may be played in a higher octave, and this includes your expression, and articulation in a new articulation. The claim, I know who I am. The claim, I know who I am. I know what I am. I know what I am. I know how I serve. I know how I serve. I am free. 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 I am free is comprised of notes, or tone that is being played, as the energetic system, that in fact you are, and the resonance of this claim, as known and realized, is the manifestation, or rearticulation, of the monad, or Christ principle, that may be an expression, as who and what you are, and the claim we offer you for this, I have come, 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 is the realization of form, and articulation, in the upper room, or what we call the higher octave, or what we call the higher octave. Now, realization is in fact knowing, and knowing is not thinking, and knowing is not thinking, and knowing is not supposition, and knowing is not supposition. To suppose an outcome from a probabilist, while it may ensure outcome, is still supposed. I will press the fifth floor. On the elevator button. I will be taken to the fifth floor. I will be taken to the fifth floor. All the fifth floor is an idea of a floor, that has been labeled 5, through a numerical system, it is an agreed upon structure, If we were to tell you that the fifth floor was called something other, and you could press the fifth floor, and you could press the fifth floor and arrive in another state, another octave of being, you would be incomprehensible, but in fact that is what we're teaching you, we are teaching you, and the button you push, through the intonation of language, is in vibration, to support just this, the claim we make for you today. The claim we make for you today, I have come, 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 is the alignment of the body, is the alignment of the body and energetic field, in the pronouncement, or rearticulation, of manifestation. Now, all manifestation is the confirmation, by the energetic field, of a reality, that is actually known and experienced, through the senses. You know the weather, through how it feels, through how it feels. You know the room. You know the room through how it is seen or felt, through how it is seen or felt. You understand. You understand that there is a storm coming, that there is a storm coming when the thunder rumbles, when the thunder rumbles in your ears, in your ears. You understand. You understand what something is through how it tastes, through how it tastes. The senses themselves are gateways for an experience, for an experience of an articulated world, And as the vibratory body begins to escalate, the physical form then must become attuned to what may be expressed, in a higher delineation, of reality, as we said yesterday. All of reality may be known. All of reality may be known in multiple octaves, and the claim you make, in realization, I have come, aligns you to what already exists, beyond the known, If you understand what we just said, you will understand the key to this teaching. You will understand the key to this teaching, what already exists. Everything exists in multiple realities, You don't understand this yet. You don't understand this yet because the codification of the tone, that this expression takes, actually has precluded in some ways your experience of what coexists with you, the idea that this is heaven, the idea that this is heaven and this is hell, articulations of consciousness that vibrate at those levels seems implausible to you, beyond philosophy, but in fact, everything is a reality. Everything is a reality, it may be known as such, and may be known as such. And imagine a hallway with many doorways, Right now, you only agree to the doorways. You only agree to the doorways that are marked with probable outcome. You don't even notice the rest. Because they cannot be seen, or even chosen, by the one that is bound. To an historic reality, where these doors cannot be opened, and if every door claimed you in a reality, claimed you in a new reality, or a potential to reality, that may be comprehended by you, you will be stunned. You will be stunned with what you may meet there, beyond the known, beyond the expected, beyond the prior choice, that has actually enabled you, to discard the options, that could have been available to you, by knowing what could be. Now what can be is always predicated on two things, the potential for it, and the alignment to it, You will not make a choice. You will not make a choice unless there's a potential for the choice, unless there is a potential for the choice to be made. But you can understand a choice, and not align to it, I know I may take an airplane. I know I may take an airplane and be in another country, and be in another country by the end of the day, but I don't have the money, for the ticket, so the outcome cannot be aligned to, I realize, or know that my senses are there to interpret, a shared construct, that I know of as reality, but I cannot imagine my perception, through the senses may be incorporating those things that have not yet been claimed, or seen or known, You deny the senses. As having the capacity to address reality, a reality that has not yet been articulated, in this manifest plane, in this manifest plane. Because something has not been made manifest here, because something has not been made manifest here does not mean it does not exist. It does not exist. It simply means it hasn't been claimed. It hasn't been claimed or agreed to. Now, as we return to the idea of the collective, we must remind you that thought is always creative, that thought is always creative, and the creation of reality as a collective feat is a collective feat. Some of you believe that you create your own reality, that you create your own reality. Well, this is not untrue. And while this is not untrue, you deny the fact that everything you see and can experience as part of a shared construct is part of a shared construct. In other words, you did not create the county you live in. You did not create the county you live in, but you are participatory to its existence, through the expression you bring to it. You don't deny that it exists. You don't deny that it exists, but you don't assume you claimed it. But you don't assume you claimed it, or are participatory to something that you can actively make, that you can actively make. The idea of making something is the act of creation, but you still think that outcome is predicated on what you do, In fact, it is not. Your outcome, the outcome of anything is predicated by only one thing, the consciousness and alignment that supports action, or knowing, and manifestation is the outcome of expression. The claim, I know how I serve. The claim, I know how I serve, is the vibrational field. In effect, and affect upon the vibratory world, that is in encounter with. If you can imagine that you are in vibration, but so is everything you encounter, but so is everything you encounter. The vibration you hold in a newly articulated state claims the vibration of everything you see, in like vibrational accord. In other words, the probability of outcome is transformed simply by nature of presence, simply by nature of your presence. If one man was painted in luminous paint, and he entered a dark room, the room would brighten by his presence. This is a good example. Of what happens in alignment with one who knows who he is. But not only is the room brightened by this presence, it is transformed. It is transformed in vibration. Through alignment, what is lifted to the divine, through rearticulation. Can be reknown and reinterpreted. It cannot be done so, but it cannot be done so long as you have decided what everything means. Look at that ugly chair. Will not transform the chair. What transforms the chair is your realization. What the chair is, that what the chair is of the divine, and that simply means an articulation of the divine that is known as chair, Chair is the label. The meaning of the chair, part of a shared construct, part of a shared construct. We don't deny the chair. We don't deny the chair, but we do deny the meaning. But we do deny the meaning or the inherited worth or the inherited worth or idea of the chair or idea of the chair as you have decided. As you have decided, don't sit on that chair. Don't sit on that chair. It costs me a fortune. It costs me a fortune. Makes the chair valuable. Makes the chair valuable, and perhaps something somebody can sit on, and perhaps something somebody can sit on. You can understand. You can understand that the value of the chair, that the value of the chair is part of collective agreement, is part of collective agreement. Somebody told you this was a valuable chair. This was a valuable chair. So you give the chair the value. So you give the chair the value that you've conceded it, that you have conceded it through the collective of what should be valued, of what should be valued. The chair is only as valuable. The chair is only as valuable as you have decided. As you have decided, everything has taken form. Everything that has taken form was once something other, and everything that is in form, and everything that is in form will be something again, that perhaps does not resemble its current manifestation, to realize the divine. To realize the divine in matter is simply unmasking what is already present, You are not making it divine. You are not making it divine as much as reknowing it, is what it's always been, as what it has always been. So the chair itself may be lifted. In rearticulation, but the valuable chair, or the ugly chair, or the ugly chair, or the broken ugly chair, or the broken ugly chair cannot be lifted to what we call the upper room, because your decisions of the chair, claim it in manifestation, a rule that is separation, the vibration that is the chair, is not separate from source, what you make of it, but what you make of it can incur separation with you, and we underline you, because it is your consciousness that is claiming the chair, in such a way that defines separation, Enough with the chair, he says. Enough with the chair, he says. Give another example. Look at that bitter woman. I don't like that woman. But I know God exists in that woman. Because God must. So you will say to the woman, I don't like you, but I know you are of God. But I know you are of God. That does nobody any good. You are lying to yourself. About your intent, and your claim of separation from woman, and your claim of separation from the woman has decided she is unworthy. He has decided that she is unworthy of her true nature. By deciding this, the level of alignment you have taken precludes your own ability to align beyond judgment, If you wish that, you may have it. That is a fine choice to make. But don't expect the elevator. To let you out on the upper floor. You may push the button all day long. But you are still in the cellar. Whether or not you decorate it. As a fake heaven, you are in the basement. With that bitter, awful woman. You say you don't want to lift. The same woman. The same woman may be reknown in a new basis, and rearticulated through your realization of who she truly is. If everything is of God, that includes the woman before you, that includes the woman before you. Your idea of what's wrong with her, is born in history, an idea of how somebody be, or an idea of who somebody should be based on the tenets or precepts, or precepts of inherited structure of inherited structure. A nasty woman is this, a nasty woman is this, a fine woman is that, a fine woman is that. What a fine woman used to be, what a fine woman used to be was a woman who eschewed sex, was a woman who eschewed sex, who married the right man, who married the right man, and then gave birth to his children, to his children. Do you understand the idea? Do you understand the idea of a poor definition of fine? Of a poor definition of fine. That was a woman who behaved. That was a woman who behaved in accord with the tenets of her time. What a fine woman is. What a fine woman is any human being. Is any human being with a specific gender, with a specific gender is in agreement to her truth, who is in agreement to her truth. And please release the word fine. And please release the word fine, because it's a horrible definition. Because it's a horrible definition of any human being, of any human being. The human being must simply be. The human being must simply be as he or she is, as he or she is, in your realization of them, and your realization of them in that alignment. In that alignment will lift them to the upper room, will lift them to the upper room where you may remain, where you may remain. Now, what the upper room is. Now, what the upper room is a higher agreement, is a higher agreement or intonation of vibration as the expressed being you are, as the expressed being you are, in alignment with all things, in alignment with all things that exist in like vibrational accord, in like vibrational accord. Again, the elevator. Again, the elevator. The fifth floor. The fifth floor is something very different. It is shared in a building. It is shared in a building with the lower floors. With the lower floors, what exists on floor 5. But what exists on floor 5, by definition of the fifth floor, by definition of the fifth floor, must be different. Must be different what exists in the lower floors than what exists in the lower floors. There still may be the same bed. There still may be the same bed and the same window and the same window, but the bed is known differently. But the bed is known differently, and the view is different. And the view is different because what can be seen or realized or known on the fifth floor. On the fifth floor must be vastly different on the second than on the second. We are not making one better than the other. We are not making one better than the other. They are simply different. They are simply different. The refinement of vibration and the refinement of vibration, one who is lifting from one who is lifting, calls the experience in shared agreement, of what exists, always, underline always, at that level of accord, by definition, the kingdom, the awareness of the Creator, in all manifestation, it must be a plane of consciousness, that can be known and rendered, into articulation through your expression of it. You claim the kingdom by expressing there, and simply by expressing, I know how I serve, I have come, claims the alignment or agreement to what must express there, You lift the woman to the fifth floor, or the upper room, or the kingdom, by the realization that the articulation of anything and everything, including ill temper, cannot be separate from source. What you don't like about this teaching, is you think you are placating a negative reality. Well, that bitch next door is still a bitch, whatever you tell me, what your name of bitch means. Well, what the name of bitch means, is what you have decided it means based on collective agreement, a presupposition, that expected outcome and expected outcome. We return to this. I expect her to be this way. I expect her to behave in such and such a way, and I am guaranteed the result. And I am guaranteed the result by my expectation. To realize the divine as a woman, to realize the divine as the woman is not to make her behave, but to release the impression, or name she has been given, which actually allows her to remanifest, to re-manifest or be reknown or be reknown in the upper room, in the upper room where there is no need, where there is no need to be defamatory, to behave in ways that could be contrary to others' well-being, You lift nothing to the upper room. You lift nothing to the upper room that you have damned, because what you have damned claims you at that level of vibrational accord, the denial of God. The denial of God assumes a potential, may live there, and you may live there, and in fact, most of you do. And in fact, most of you do. Well, I'm very spiritual. I pray all day long. I have a club. We wear the right robes. You should see how spiritual we are. You should see how spiritual we are. The defiance of the light. The defiance of the light does not mean you dance in the light. It simply means you carry a light bulb. You carry a light bulb and a lampshade on your head, and say you are bright when you are not, and say you are bright when you are not. Do you understand this? Do you understand this? To be the light. To be the light is to know the light, is to know the light, and to know the light. And to know the light is to be known within it, is to be known within it. You can say anything you wish. You can say anything you wish, but the octave of expression that you have embodied in, is what is claiming your reality, is what is claiming your reality, the collective and the individual, to realize the kingdom, to know the kingdom. To know the kingdom is to claim the kingdom, is to claim the kingdom by nature of presence, and the divine as you, and the divine as you in manifestation. In manifestation, we'll do this without effort. Did you underline those words? There is no effort. There is no effort. And the divine, in the divine, it simply is. And your expression at this level of agreement, is what lifts the world, to what we call the upper room, to what we call the upper room. Well, I want to go to the upper room and say, well, I want to go to the upper room. You say, I want to live there. I want to live there, but you really don't. You want to visit once in a while. Read the magazines on the table there. And go back to your life. And talk about your vacation. Well, I went to the upper room last year. Where perhaps did you go? The upper room. The upper room is a state of consciousness, in vibration, and the articulation of it as you, and the articulation of it as you claims you as the doorway, or the portal, or the welcome, to the rest manifest, to the rest of the manifest world. No one comes to God but through me. No one comes to God but through me. Was an invocation of Christ, that is misunderstood, You become the gateway. As you realize the Christ, You understand this? Do you understand this? Jesus as articulation of Christ, is actually an accurate expression, is actually an accurate description, but the teaching of the Christ is universal teaching, is a universal teaching, has no religion attached, It's simply the entranceway. It is simply the entranceway of the articulated self, at this level of consciousness that lifts the world, that claims the world by its own expression, by its own expression. I want to be a doorway. Well, I want to be a doorway, you say. You say, then everybody must be able to pass through. Then everybody must be able to pass through you. Not just the ones you like, not just the ones you like, or the ones who are politics, or the ones who agree with your politics, the ones who are kind to you, or the ones who are kind to you, and the ones who would not extinguish you, or the ones that would not extinguish you. Everybody gets to come through. Everybody gets to come through the doorway that you are, the doorway that you are, to relinquish the self, to relinquish the self that has abandoned the divine, that has abandoned the divine and aligned to the upper room. To the upper room. Well, that doesn't sound worth it. You say, well, that doesn't sound worth it. You say, who wants to be a doorway? Who wants to be a doorway if I have to let those people in? If I have to let those people in. And this is the challenge of the work. And this is the challenge of the work. You must become the agreement that you make when you claim the words. When you claim the words, I have come, I have come, and the one who has come, and the one who has come is the true self, is the true self in realization, not an imposter posing as it, not an imposter posing as it, because the claim I have come, because the claim I have come can be made in truth, can only be made in truth by the true self, who knows who he or she is, who knows who he or she is. Manifestation, the articulation of form. The articulation of form is all made of one substance, is all made of one substance. In prior teachings, we have spoken of paintings, we have spoken of paintings. There is one paint, known in different pigments, that may be blended, to become other things as well, The canvas presents a beach scene. Children at play, a shark in the water, a beautiful sun, roaring waves. It is the same paint. It is the same paint being rendered on the canvas, in different forms of articulation. Everything is of one substance, depicted or articulated in different ways. You can change the painting. You can change the painting by realizing the paint. By realizing the paint is one thing, and its depictions, articulations were chosen by the painter, and decided by the collective, Why is it possible? That you perceive a beach scene, and know what it is, through the collective agreement to what things are, but it is only what you say it is, it is only just paint. It is only just paint and temper and issue in agreement to be informed. What did that mean? He says, what did that mean? He said, did I mishear? What we actually meant to say was, what you have is paint. What you have is paint, and the idealization of paint and color in color tempora. Tempora, what is the word? It's a word. There's a word I don't know. We will speak the word differently. The issue of paint. The issue of paint is the descriptor here. What the paint is of. What the paint is of is God. God as paint. God as paint, and the different paints. And the different paints on the canvas are just depictions of God, and what you render, through your temperament, and emotion, and agreement, to what has been. We will take a moment for Paul. As we complete this teaching. We have things to show you. There is no teaching worth merit. There is no teaching worth merit that can't be comprehended. Our intention for you, and our intention for you, is to be realized beyond the prior agreements, and anticipated outcomes when we return. So when we return after your question, we'll show you what you are. We will show you what you are, the paint that you are, as manifestation, vibration, in vibration and tone. And tone, period, period, period. Period, period, period. Take a moment, Paul. You're telling me to take a moment.